Hi everyone and welcome back to chapter 5 of our Cherry Bakewell. This will be our final chapter and we will be working on our cupcake border. So as you can see, I'm part way through making our border at the moment, and I've created our cupcake base and our cupcake top. I'm just going to finish it here, but I'm going to talk about, before we go any further really, I'm just going to talk about how we worked the base here and how we're going to work the top. So you're going to see a bit of a demo there. Everything will be written up on the pattern as always, and I'm sorry there's been a bit of slight delay this few weeks. That's due to some holidays and different commitments at the shop at the moment. So I hope you're really enjoying our free pattern. I hope that you're not finding it too difficult, and if you are, obviously let us know. We really do appreciate the feedback for us to then write this into an official pattern for us to put on Etsy. So in the meantime, you're enjoying our free pattern and working along with us, which is quite nice and quite novel. So yeah, it's been quite enjoyable in that way, and we've had loads of feedback on different ones. Really enjoying it. So we're trying to keep it as simple as we can. So I'm just going to pause here and then just resettle myself, because working on my blanket and videoing can be a bit cumbersome. So let me just readjust myself and I'll pause here, and then we'll come back to starting and explaining our cupcake base and how we're going to work our cupcake top. So as you're aware, I am making this on the go. I am using a different colourway to yourselves. This is more a pink based colourway that we have. Doesn't matter how comfortable I get with my blanket, it keeps falling down over my legs, and working with a blanket on your legs in this weather is not good. I'm just going to turn off my dehumidifier because it's actually making me feel like I can't breathe. Right, so I've worked the base, and this will be written up. I'm not going to do a video on this purely because I don't really, after everything else you've done, I really don't think you require one. So let's just come in a bit closer. So what we've worked in, we've skipped 4 stitches between each one with a chain 2 in between each area. So we've worked two trebles into one space. We then worked 3 into the next space and then 2. So overall you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches worked over 3 spaces with a chain 2 in between. Then when we've come to the ends, we don't always have 4, but we kind of go, well, if there's 3, we just work straight into the corner with a 2 trebles, a chain 2, and then 2 doubles, and then we work around our top base after. So again, I will explain that and go through that in much more detail so that you can understand, and it will be written up in the pattern as well, as best as I can, to help guide you through. Everything will be written into bullet points, and we will be starting this as row 1 of our border, and then row 2. It is worked over 3 rows. So as you can see, what happens with our border, it becomes slightly 3D to give us that cupcake look. And I have changed it slightly from the original pattern that I did, because I've tried to work it over the stitches that I have to make it more unified for the pattern itself. The original pattern that I did that kind of off the cuff and out of my head, and then kind of wrote it up as we went. But again, I've had to correct some of those bits. Again, this is where some of the time aspect is coming from as well. Okay, so we're going to work. So from each cupcake base, we'll work 6 chains. So I've done my 6 chains here. We're then going to work what looks like a treble by creating our 3 there, and then we're just pulling through the 2, leaving those 2 loops on the end. So that's the one that was originally there, and that is the one for my unfinished treble. We're going to do that into every stitch. So the first one went into the stitch base, then we're going to work it into the next stitch head and do that repeatedly. So you're going to go take your yarn over, go through the stitch head, pull your yarn through, and just go for the first 2, and then repeat by going into the next stitch. So I'll go slower again. So yarn over, go into the stitch head, pull through, and you just pull through those first 2. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll count all those loops up to make it easier. I will do the next one so that you can see it slower again. But let's just count how many loops we have so far. Given the fact that we should have, in theory, 9. But let's just check. So, sorry, 10, because we've got our original loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you should have 10 loops all in all. That is including your original one. Yarn over and then pull all the way through, and then just another chain on the top that you don't count. That's just to bring the stitch together. Then you go 1 chain, 2 chain, 3 chain, 4 chain, 5 chain, 6 chain. Okay, let's get in a bit closer so you can see this even more. So yarn over, go into the chain space, and then work around like so, leaving one loop that you've just made and the loop that was originally there, and then work into each stitch head. So yarn over, go through your stitch head, pull back through, work the next 2 loops. Yarn over, go through your stitch head, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through, go through your first 2 loops, and just keep doing that until you come to the end. Okay, and that is my completed row. So we're just going to do 3 chains on the end because we don't need to go too far to get to where we want to get to. Okay, if you find that it's too tight and it's pulling too much in your corner, add another chain in. It's not going to hurt. This is not like doing the previous rows where it's detrimental or it has a huge effect if we add extra stitches in. In this case, because it's the border, we can add a little bit more in if we need to give us extra kind of flexibility. So don't worry if you have to modify. Generally that is the case with many patterns because tensions vary. Your tension might be much tighter than the person who made the pattern. So you're just it's an approximation when you're kind of working on a pattern. So if you do find that, don't feel as if you've let yourself down or as if the pattern wasn't great enough because you had to modify. I have had to modify many patterns, but that doesn't put me off from using future patterns from that person, and it doesn't make me feel that they did a bad job either. Just sometimes we all have to do a couple of modifications here to suit the style and techniques that we use when we're crocheting. So what we'll do now is we'll go underneath and pull through and then just complete with a slip stitch so it sits underneath there. Now what you'll notice is on this particular one I worked into that chain space there, can you see? And then I worked 1, 2, and then I worked 2 into the chain space and then brought them all together. So it's a together stitch basically, or as some might say a kind of combined bobble stitch, but you're stitching together. You're bringing those stitches together almost as a decrease. So that should be everything, and then you have 2 chains in the corner there. Okay, now on some of my corners, or well, one of my corners, it didn't work out perfectly. Unfortunately I must have joined together a little bit incorrectly, and that has been counterproductive on one of my corners. Now you may find the same. I'm happy to admit my mistakes, especially when I'm making it for myself. And because I'm making it at speed as well. But if you do find that, don't worry. Just if it is that you've only got 2 left on the corner, 2 spaces here left on the corner, just do 2 and work straight into your corner here. If you've got 4, brilliant. If you've got 2, that's okay. If you've got 3, it's not going to hurt. Okay, just give you that kind of space, but kind of work 2, 2 and 2 into the corner. Right. I'm going to now cut off, and then I'm going to pause here and I'm going to start working on our cherries. So our cherry row on our last row is more of a popcorn kind of stitch. There's a little bit of a technique to this. Now you can, if you wish, use a smaller hook, which is what I think I'm going to do. Currently I think I'm working on a 5, but there isn't a number on this hook. So I think this is about a 5 for me because I wanted it to be a bit looser. But now I'm thinking I'm going to work it slightly different. I'm not quite sure. You may find I use the same hook because I don't want it to be too different. But if you want your cherries to be a bit smaller, then you can do that as well. So if I do decide to do that, which I probably will, I know I'm rambling in my video, I will let you know that how many sizes I've gone down by, and then you can gauge that by your own. So for instance, if I go down to 4 and I'm working on a 5, you can go down to a 3 if you're working on a 4. So hopefully we should kind of equal it out together, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, feel free to message me and we can work it out together. Okay? Rightio, let's get started.